Okay, thank you for that.
No problem. I think I'm sure no one would remember, but this is actually the second presentation I've given to this Rotary Club. So the first one was actually in the year 2000, and it was where I gave a small talk about running a corner shop that specialised in exotic pets. So 21 years on, I'm fairly pleased to be back talking through around how we're now changing the largest UK marina operator into hopefully what will be a much cleaner marina operator. As I said, there is 25 slides. It's a huge area to cover. So I will do my best to keep it under 30 minutes and try and keep it down to a minute a slide. So it's probably worth, if you have got questions, just leaving them until the end, and I'll try and pick it up as we go through. Now, hopefully, we should start to go. So I think in the intro, you've sort of covered who MDL are. So MDL Marinas, we operate 18 UK marinas in the UK. We also operate one in Spain. But we also now have 2 holiday parks. And as of September the 1st this year, we've just opened our first gym. And on top of that, we've also got 550 on-site tenant businesses, which vary really from sort of your sail makers to pubs, restaurants, and including a cinema. And we also have 450 residential houses. So the business itself is a fairly wide-ranging business with lots of different departments in it. Now, we work very closely with our supply chain and all these on-site businesses, but also all of our berth holders. And you've probably guessed that running a marina with really big plastic boats and parking them is not that great for the environment. But I think it is fair to say, as a business, we are definitely committed to protecting the natural beauty of all the marina surroundings and the ecosystem, ensuring that everyone within the locality can enjoy it. And through the focus we do have on the environment, we've now started to make some really fantastic progress with our sustainability activities and long-term investment in innovative and eco initiatives across the marina as well as the holiday park group. Now, we're certainly proud of what we have done, but there is much more to do. Now, the Marina Group, as part of the wider marine leisure industry, we're looking at how we can take it to the next step. So that's why essentially this year I've launched this Greening the Marina strategy to address areas where we can move into. I think it's probably important just to outline that for any business to operate sustainably, it does need to operate with as minimal negative impact on the environment as possible, which is not easy in this field, and certainly isn't easy if at the same time you want to make it commercially make sense. Now, our mission is, as you can see, to be the UK's most sustainable marine operator, and this has essentially come from the target that the UK now has, and it's an ambitious target, which is ensuring our net carbon account for the year 2050 is at least 100% lower than it was in 1990. Wholeheartedly support that, and the green strategy is the beginning of that journey to make us the UK's most sustainable marine operator, which incorporates current practices and activities with hopefully fairly forward-thinking ideas that are flexible enough to be developed alongside changes in government policy and marine-related legislation. So in the last 3 to 4 years, what has been achieved so far? Well, I suppose the first place to start is what most of you have probably done, either in your own houses or in your own businesses, which is looking at how you can harness solar energy. So in 2018, we would been investing in solar panels to officially convert the sun's energy to be used on site. And we've got close to now 1,000 solar panels on buildings at 5 of our marinas, which in 2020 generated about 120 kilowatts of electricity. And we're going to continue to install renewable energy solutions to reduce the carbon footprint. The amount of energy being generated is displayed live on the MDL website now, so at the various marinas where those solar panels are, customers can begin to go in and see exactly how much energy has been generated. all the electricity that we don't produce ourselves, we certainly make sure we buy it from renewable sources. So every piece of power which is used, and that's electric power by the marinas, is now 100% renewable sources. And this means our customers benefit from clean green energy that is produced in harmony with the environment without depleting the Earth's natural resource for producing harmful greenhouse gases. Now, the one thing that comes up quite a lot in conversation is therefore what are we doing in terms of infrastructure? I'll get on to what we're doing with the future of boat infrastructure, but certainly from a car perspective, we now have electric charging points at all of our marinas to support customers. And what we're beginning to see now is customers turning to switch into the electric vehicle from where they have been before. And that now means that every single marina has at least one Tesla charger, but also a universal charger at every single point. We've also got our own challenges because as a business, we have our own trucks, we've got our own forklifts, we've got lots of plant equipment, and we've also got our own boats. So the next thing we've started to do is look at how we can introduce 100% electric vehicles with zero emissions, and that should assist us in maintaining the marinas facilities fairly sustainably. So when anything is now due to replacement, all site vehicles are now being replaced with electric vehicles, and that does include work boats and where possible plant alternatives, although to be fair, currently the plant alternatives have got a fair bit to go in terms of technology to give us what we need. We touched on the gym earlier on, so we launched MDL Fitness on September the 1st. Now, the reason MDL Fitness is an important addition into the fitness industry is that it has a whole new range of green gym equipment which converts human kinetic energy into electricity. So the fitness center features sport art eco power equipment that harnesses up to 74% of the user's energy, and that is spent exercising before converting it into utility grade electricity. So we are now able to send AC power generated by the gym's members back through the gym's power grid to offset the energy consumption and reduce the carbon footprint. Now, customers quite enjoy this because all of the customers' progress is tracked and it is shown through screens on the gym walls, but also via apps so they can see exactly how much electricity they have managed to generate, and then they can see themselves in league tables. Now, the next step for this, which I think is quite exciting, is if we can start to get all that gym equipment put into boat manufacturers. Essentially, you could end up with a worldwide network of super yachts, all with people on them at some point generating power through the exercise that they happen to be doing. Waste management, it's one of our larger cost base. It's really difficult. We've now got full recycling and waste management facilities at all the marinas, and that includes hazardous waste, where we also have 100% zero waste to landfill policy. Now, this is tapping into the circular economy because we're increasing the amount of types of waste we can recycle, from food to ferrous metals, which will then be transformed into new products or used to generate electricity. So, for example, where a customer has got used oil, we collect it, it gets sent to a refinery for treatment, and then it's returned as a usable base oil. And those recycled base oils emit much less CO2 than standard oil, so standard crude oil, and it works out about 30% less. Water purification. Being by the sea, we obviously have a lot of water surrounding us, but we've started now, and I think we've got them at pretty much every location, to install filtration systems. And these include things like Purifel or Filterbund, which clean wastewater from boatyard activities. So for those that don't know how a boatyard works, any boat that has come ashore will be cleaned, it will be sprayed, and using the water that comes in there, we essentially recapture that. So all of these installations incorporate additional technology which is used to recycle the water, which is used in pressure washing, ensuring that it can be safely reused. And then this closed use system therefore reduces the quantity of water used and therefore the impacts it has on the environment. And that's not just from the use of water, but also the fact that there's no chance of that water also getting into the local ecosystem. Oil and fuels. So we aim to supply only the highest quality flame-free fuel, and to ensure we deliver on this promise, MDL fuel is regularly tested. This is done on a pretty much day-to-day basis for its quality by an independent laboratory to ensure that it reaches the pumping prime condition, and that just makes sure that at least the fuel being used by the boats is as efficient as possible, and all the staff are trained in spill response both on and off the water. Now, the next thing I want to cover is an interesting point, because this is actually using the marine environment to grow a more natural environment, and this is what we have done with oyster restoration. So across the Solent, it used to be fairly heavily populated with oysters. That has been dropping consistently over a fairly long period of time. So we are supporting the Blue Marine Foundation's conservation project, and this is an ongoing project which involves specially designed oyster cages that are attached onto our marina pontoons, which are then stocked with oysters, and we're fairly confident that this will help to make sure that oyster beds can then be reintroduced back into the Solent and create a sustainable fishery. So while the oysters help improve the water quality as they filter the water around them, and this has been a project we've been doing for a couple of years now, and we're beginning to spread it across the rest of the estate. We certainly don't do things in isolation. So we also support the Green Blues environmental program, which is all about educating and informing water users on the marine related issues, which includes how they can help to stop the spread of invasive marine species. Now, just in terms of how that works is most people that are boat owners, they will travel from marina to marina, and we have a lot of people that travel from, say, the US, the Caribbean, Africa or Europe. And if they do that, 9 times out of 10, their boat is then going to come out of the water in the UK. So if those boats have picked up any species from other areas of the planet, when they then get reintroduced into the UK water, it can create quite a big problem. So this is a whole initiative around stopping that happening, and the easiest way to stop that happening is just about educating customers, so they understand if they're going to lift and wash a boat, they actually do it at the origin where that boat is, as opposed to doing it after they land in a new environment. So I suppose that gives you hopefully a fairly quick overview in terms of where we are, but I guess it's then looking about what we can do moving forward. So we have touched on solar power, sorry, but there are additional renewable energy sources. And I think my aim really is to make sure that we can power our business through as much on-site generated renewable energy as possible, which will reduce the consumption that we take from a grid. It will reduce our carbon footprint further. And to achieve this, we are looking at other renewable energy sources in addition to the solar power that we are currently using. So some of the things that includes, we're researching how we can harness energy from waves, that includes tides. We're including the use of fixed and floating technologies to generate electricity for use across the sites, specifically to supply energy for our facility blocks where gas and electric water heating is presently the norm, but we're undertaking an in-house study on how renewable energy sources can be used at each and different sites, including using evacuated tubes for heating and heat recovery from air exhaust points. In addition, we're investigating the feasibility for a new concept of recovering heat from shower wastewater, which does mean over probably a 5-year period, we should be at a point where most of the power that we're taking is coming from the environment around us. We do currently use LED lighting across our pontoons, but we're also looking at how we can get longer lasting LED lighting. All of our installations are now specified with the LED lighting, which is definitely more energy efficient as it has no heat or UV emissions. And where feasible, we are combining LED lighting with solar panels and onboard battery storage, which makes the light self-sufficient with no requirement for electricity from the grid. I did touch on electric workboats earlier. Electric boats are certainly in their infancy. I think it's fair to say the boating market is nowhere near where the car market is, but we are currently converting all of our petrol and diesel fleet to fully electric or hybrid propulsion. And for most of our fleet, that essentially just means converting the outboard motors with an electric motor when we get to end of life. but there's almost no point having electric boats if you haven't got an infrastructure where you can plug them in. And this is a definite challenge within the marina industry. So we are now trying to support customers who want to make their boating as environmentally friendly as possible. And we're aiming to become the first UK marina group to offer an electric boat charging solution across all the locations that we have. For the electric boat market to evolve, we've got to make boating more sustainable. So it's essential, therefore, that we develop a charging network which offers rapid charging for smaller vessels such as ribs and sport boats, but also offers trickle charging for those larger vessels, and also ensures we can start to hit maybe some of the bigger ships. You will have all seen in the press, certainly in recent times, this point about trying to reduce ocean plastics. It's been much publicised in the media, and everyone should know now that microplastics continue to be an environmental concern. We're certainly aiming to play our part in helping to reduce the plastic and waste emanating from the marina through education and through continued provision of secure waste and recycling receptacles. Across 3 of our marinas, we have now installed some sea bins, and they are there to collect litter from the water and improve the water quality. And we're aiming to install additional sea bins or other waterborne waste collection technologies at all of the marinas we have. Now, I'm not sure how much you know about the how you manage the depth at a marina, but the one thing you will always see on an annual basis or a biannual basis is a dredging machine, which is there to essentially take the silt and the mud out of the marina to keep the depth good enough so boats can navigate safely. So to sustain the marine ecosystem, all levels of silt and sediment have to be kept constant. And for natural harbours, this means retaining the silt within the harbour. As with well, pretty much every marina, I think globally, our marinas are subject to ongoing siltation and require regular dredging to maintain these depths. So we are now working with harbour authorities and local councils within our marina network to redistribute the dredge from our sites, helping to build mudflat levels where they're needed, encouraging things like salt marshes to be re-established, and essentially increasing the flora and fauna around all of those locations. Now, by doing that, that also means we can start to work on habitat creation. So the next step is where we're now researching and developing a range of solutions for habitat improvement and creation in disused or unusable areas of the marinas, such as the installation of artificial reefs to prevent coastal erosion and improve biodiversity in the area. Now, there's some tests we're doing currently in Plymouth, where Plymouth has an incredibly large breakwater. That breakwater historically has got, it's constructed from a wooden side, and those wooden sides are replaced on pretty much, I think it's a 3 or 4 year cycle. We are now replacing those woodens with a new artificial concrete, and that artificial concrete is made from sustainable sources, but is programmed to allow coral reefs to grow, which essentially means then those breakwaters don't need to have the replacements that they did have, and it'll also allow a coral reef to grow somewhere where actually it wouldn't have done historically. Quite a small thing, but also we have just over 300 members of staff. All of them wear uniforms. Certainly working on the coast, there's some fairly large weather protective uniforms. And the thing we have just launched now is having fully recyclable uniforms. So all of our uniform now is sought from trailing an alternative material, and that's made from 100% recycled bottles. Now, as I said earlier, we haven't done all of this in isolation. We certainly work with our partners, and those include people like the Blue Marine Foundation, the Yacht Harbour Association, and British Marine. But I'm hoping, and I think from a time perspective, I've probably covered it in just under 20 minutes, which gives you time for questions if you've got it. But I'm hoping that gives you a bit of an overview about what sort of the marina industry, and certainly MDL Marinas, is doing to try and clean up where they have been in previous years. So I'll take questions if you've got them.